You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. You're watching It's All About Dating. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I am thrilled to have you here for another fantastic edition of this show. My co-host Lori Mendelson is enjoying the day off, and we wish her well. My guest is amazing. He is a professionally trained coach. He is known as the Performance Alchemist. He's the author of 2 books, and he is a podcast host. He is also hosting rooms over on Clubhouse. Let us welcome to It's All About Dating, Alex Terrnova. Welcome.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. We talked briefly backstage about the fact that you're joining us from beautiful San Diego, California.
It's pretty perfect out here. You know, you're stealing me away from the sun.
Well, the sun looks good on you. So thank you again for taking the time. I always love doing this show because I feel like we're giving people some inspiration and taking some of the fear and the anxiety out of really just getting out there and connecting with people. What are your thoughts about that?
We're so afraid of connection, right? We're like so afraid of rejection. And I think a lot about how we make ourselves wrong for these things. We forget that, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, if we had gotten cast out of our community, our tribe, we wouldn't have been able to survive. So humans today, you know, I sometimes think we're still like cavemen in our biology, but the world has just sped up way faster than we've evolved. So the idea of like being rejected, not being accepted by a friend group, pushed out of a community or space, our brains relate to it as equivalent as death. So we are almost like built to look for fear and stay safe. And I think that it's really unfortunate, and it really sucks because it prevents us from falling in love. It prevents us from having the love that we want. It prevents us from having the friendships. It even prevents us from having the relationships with ourselves because we're so afraid to be who we really are, because what if we're not accepted? And then if we're not accepted for who we really are, then what do we do, right? If we're not accepted for the pretend version of us, well, that's great. We can just change. But if it's us, it's pretty detrimental.
Very true. Great points. So, Alex, how do you feel that the pandemic has brought this to light, that the situation may be even more difficult or challenging for some people than we actually thought?
You know, I think that the pandemic, I say this with like love and empathy and compassion for people that have like lost jobs, gotten sick, lost loved ones. I really don't believe that the world is any worse than it was hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You know, back in the day, you cut your finger and you lost your whole arm, or maybe even died because you got an infection. Childbirth killed like so many people, and young babies died all the time because we just couldn't take care of them. There were so many ways people didn't have enough food, clean water. Now, our problems, we have a lot of those same problems, but we also have a lot of different problems, the pandemic being one. I think, unfortunately, what we do as humans is we use circumstances to validate the experiences we're having. So I know a lot of people, my clients included, who 2020 was the best year of their lives. And I don't mean like they just made more money or the fact that they didn't have to go to work, but they reconnected with their families. They made a choice that, hey, this thing happened. The pandemic happened. We didn't get to control that. But who are you going to be about the experience? I learned a lot from, I'm blanking on the name, the famous psychiatrist who wrote a book based on his experiences in the Holocaust. And he talked about how there were different types of people in the Holocaust, this horrible event, and how Some people chose to look for the beauty in nature, in the guards, to give food to those who were hungry. And so some people chose to just kind of sit around and wait for their death. And that was the one power that we had in life. We don't get to choose whether there's an earthquake, a pandemic, whether we lose our jobs, whether our partner cheats on us and leaves. But we do get to choose who we're going to be about the situations when they happen. And we do get to choose how we're going to show up in response to the situations. And I think, unfortunately, there's people that responded like, I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to, whether it be create a new business or spend more time with my family and slow down. And there's people like me who said, what do I want to create amongst this mess that we're in? How can I help more people? How can I slow down? How can I take better care of myself because I can't do other things? And also, how can I find new ways to connect and date? I was single during this. So how can I find new ways to explore meeting people and not just put my life on hold until I guess the world says it's okay for me not to?
I really admire that perspective, and I feel the same as you in regards to that. I love the fact that you've been dubbed the anti-excuse coach by Yahoo Finance. And you were just alluding to that, by the way, in terms of excuses. Just a quick story I have myself, which is actually recent, and I think it's kind of pertinent. I started on this new way of living for 75 days. It's called 75 Hard, and you have to follow certain things. And I can't tell you how many people, solicited or unsolicited, have reached out to me and said that I should just change the rules and not do this and not do this and have this. And I said, no, that's the problem. The problem is to see how mentally tough you are. You don't make excuses and run away, but it showed me insights to people's character, that there's a certain acceptance in people that it's okay to make excuses instead of doing the work.
Oh my God. I had two things that really changed my life, and they both came from, many things that changed my life, but two things really stand out for me. One of my first coaches, my own coach, said to me, we talked a lot about integrity. Like, what kind of man do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be in the world? Is the way you think about being in the world and the words you say and your actions aligned? And that's not about anyone else. It's not about morality. It's about you. So to your point, I was up late last night. I didn't mean to stay up as late as I did, but I got caught up in a relationship and a conversation. And I had said I was going to go to this workout class that I'd never been to at 7 a.m. Sometimes I go at 6 a.m. Well, when I woke up, every part of my body was like, no. And I say to myself, I'm the kind of person that does what he says he's going to do. So I pull myself out of bed. I don't have to be happy about it. I don't have to be excited, but I pull myself out of bed. I put on the clothes. I go to the class. And again, it's not about right or wrong. It's not about necessarily what feels good in the moment. It's about that I'm this kind of person because I say I'm this kind of person. And if I can't be that for myself, how can I be it for others in the world? So for me, integrity is huge. And that doesn't mean we're perfect, because we're human. I mess up, right? There's a day that goes by where I'm like, screw it, I'm not getting up. And I have to allow myself that humanity. The other thing that you touched on, that when you just shared that, is we often think of discomfort as a bad thing. Right, there are forms of discomfort that are terrible. It's people taking advantage of each other, hurting each other. But there's a lot of things that discomfort that actually provides access. I refer to this workout class. I don't like exercise where someone's yelling at me or like cheerleading me. I want to do it on my own. I want to go to the gym, get on my Peloton, like ride without a screen on. And somebody I know just opened up a gym. It's beautiful. They asked, would you come? And I was like, no, I don't really want to do that workout. And then I thought, you just don't want to do it because it's uncomfortable for you. But that form of uncomfort isn't bad. What would I learn about myself, or how could I grow if I put myself in an uncomfortable situation in service of expansion? So, right, I go to this class. Is it my favorite kind of class? No. But it pushed me and it forced me to be in a situation that had me grow. And that coach said to me, fall in love with discomfort. Comfort is the enemy. And I love that concept. Comfort is great when you're in bed or when you're cuddling with somebody. But when we want more than what we have, we're gonna have to get uncomfortable. And that's what I love about the anti-excuses coach is it's like, hey, I get it. You got great excuses, but you want some stuff that you don't have. So we're gonna have to get messy. We're gonna have to get uncomfortable. We're gonna have to try things. And you're gonna probably have to hear me say things to you that no one's ever said to you before in a way that no one probably ever talks to you, because we gotta get you out of your own way.
Right. I really respect your attitude and your sticking to your guns and what you said you're going to do. I know for me, I do not feel like doing 75 hard. I have no interest whatsoever. I am walking around dragging. I've got to do my second workout after I'm done working all day. But too bad. I decided I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I hope that people take away the fact that it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to try something new, because if you don't, is what you're doing now so great? I mean, how happy are you with what you're doing now? So I kind of want to segue to dating, and you have a different kind of approach and a different kind of experience. And I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, this is new. So it's really an experiment. And I do love experiments. For 2020, I experimented with going vegan for the whole year. I'd never been a vegan before. I just said, hey, I'm going to try this. Let's see what happens. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm now 90% vegan. I I leave about 10% that I can eat what I want and enjoy certain situations, but it really worked for me. It changed my body composition, my energy, the way I feel, the way I look. And it was just for me, right? It wasn't for anybody else. So I love the idea of experimenting. 75 hard is an experiment in a way, right? You might go, oh my God, I should keep doing some of these things ongoing.
Yes.
And I realized a few months ago that I wasn't having fun dating anymore. In my 20s, I loved dating. It was all these experiences, meeting new people. And in my 30s, dating became about the results, finding the person, having a great experience. Maybe it worked out, maybe it doesn't. But just the pizzazz of it kind of went away, and it just became another thing, another job. And coincidentally, I have a friend who is getting married in Tulum, and their wedding got rescheduled because of COVID. Because of that and COVID, I had gone through a series of relationships that ended. So people that were going to go with me to this wedding, it didn't work out. So let's just fast forward to a month ago when I'm sitting with my cousin in a bar in Santa Barbara. We're talking about dating. And I said, you know what? 3 people have been invited to this wedding with me. None of them are going to be going. The airline went out of business because of COVID. The wedding date got changed. I think this thing is just cursed. And I said, and maybe I just have a bad picker. I'm not good at choosing who I'm going to be with. And I say that because when I date women, I see the potential. I date women because of what I think who they could be. And that doesn't mean that's who they want to be. And I love that I see people like that, but it doesn't necessarily serve me finding what I want. And so I said to my cousin, why don't you pick who goes to Tulum with me? And I said to her first, why don't you pick who I date? And she laughed and she said, I'll pick who you go on dates with. And I said, what if you pick who goes to Tulum with me? And the next thing we knew, we threw up some jokey posts on social media. It went viral within, a half an hour. It was hundreds of comments. It was being shared. Within about a week, it had been seen by over 50,000 people, shared in companies, in Facebook communities. People were saying, take my friend to Tulum. We made a landing page. If people want to see this landing page, they can go to thedreammason.com and there's a Tulum tab. And it was all a joke. And all of a sudden people were like, this is so inspiring. You put yourself out there. You're willing to just take a random person. And the catch was, I said, maybe I'm not good at picking the best partner for me. So I found 5 friends, and they're actually the ones picking who I go to Tulum with. So we're interviewing people, they're interviewing me, and they're going to decide who my date for Tulum is. And we're down now to about the final 5.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. So first of all, congratulations on doing something out of the box, and congratulations on getting all of that visibility. That's amazing. So will you have any input into these 5 people, or is it completely, they're going to make the last determination?
So I think, look, my friends love me. They care about me. They don't want to send me to Tulum with somebody I'm not going to have a good time with. They also don't want to send somebody to Tulum with me who they're not going to have a good time. So we have talked a lot about look, they get to make the final decision. and I can share with them, right? So far, the women have been interviewed and selected by them. And then the women get to send somebody from their life to interview me, which has been really fun to meet the friends. And I get to find out more about this person through their friends, through their best friends, and their friends get to say, no or yay. And which has been a great experience, like learning through who someone is through their friends. Also, when we date, think about how protective we are. We started out talking about, fear and connecting. How many dates does somebody normally go on before they say, hey, what do you believe politically? What are your religious beliefs? What do you really care about in raising your kids? I think we go on far down the road before we have some of those tough conversations. But because of this contest, in a sense, we're having them right up front. And I've gotten responses from these women saying, this is so refreshing to actually just talk to someone and say what's important to you, and you say what's important to them, and we find out if it's a fit, instead of like doing this dance of safety and just hoping we get liked and chosen. We're actually just being super vulnerable, which actually feels more fun. It feels more real and more true. And the depth of connection I'm finding with these women is far deeper and far faster than I would traditionally dating. What I would say is I'm going to share my thoughts on my connection on the women with the judges. And I think they'll take my thoughts into consideration. But I think if they see something for me that I don't see, like a blind spot, just like a coach would do, that they could make a different choice. And that it's part of my job to kind of like lean back, have faith and surrender and practice something different and see what happens.
It's kind of cool. I don't know if this is the exact terminology, but you're running it like your own reality. It's not TV, but reality experience that you could definitely 100%. Take on TV or write a book about or a movie or something else. So will you get to meet the person before you go on the trip?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not trying to send me and this amazing human on a trip together completely blind. So most of the women I'm actually already interacting with. We're messaging each other. Some of them I've actually like FaceTimed with. We haven't done any like traditional like dates or anything yet, but I'm kind of like leaving it between them and me to like see, like some of them want to talk to me. So I'm like, okay, you can talk to me. There's no like rule, right? We made up the game. We can make up the rules. But ultimately they know that even if we really connect, I might not get to choose them. So if they want to be connected and learn about me, well, they might get chosen. They might not. So I didn't do a lot of connecting with the women before we got to the final 7. When we got to the final 7, we started having like, text messages and things like that, voice memos. So we are getting to know each other. And the hope is that when we get to, I think 3, 4, that maybe we'll start doing some real virtual dates. Some of the women live in Los Angeles, not too far from me. And maybe we can, I could drive up there. We could actually meet in person, because if it's not a fit, it's not a fit, right? Even if my friends are like, this woman wins, but she's like, it's not a fit. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? This is about fun and an adventure, because that's what we can control. So that's how we're playing this, is like, hey, let's have fun. Let's have adventure. That's what got us here with you. And that's what got us on the news in San Diego. And I just found out yesterday, a major news network wants to do a bigger story on this. And that's what's creating this magic, is we're having fun and we're getting out of our heads and just having a good time. And it's really resonating with people, because I think everyone wants that, right? We're so concerned with the results, but we could be concerned with the journey and let the results take care of themselves.
So well said. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the journey. So when we come back, a couple of things. I'd love to hear from you from the male perspective. How important is physical chemistry? Because we hear a lot of things from women. Yes, it's important. No, it's not important. So I'd love to hear your perspective. And then I'd love for you to read from one of your books. Great. How does that sound?
I'd love to. That sounds good.
Okay, fantastic. So stay with us. We're going to take a break and hear from some of our sponsors, and we'll be right back right after this message.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our ministry alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome back to It's All About Dating. You're either watching us on USA Global TV or listening on Business Talk Radio, and we are happy either way. My guest today is Alex Terrnova. He has been dubbed the Anti-Excuses Coach by Yahoo Finance. He is a Performance Alchemist, an author, and a podcast host. And he's also the creator of a very cool experiment to see if his friends can select the perfect person for him to make this incredible trip. He's gotten a lot of publicity, and he'll continue to get more about this experiment. So welcome back, Alex. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
It's our pleasure. So I I said before the break a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. And the first is we have a lot of matchmakers and dating coaches who come on here. And obviously you're a professionally trained coach yourself. And we'll get people in here saying that it doesn't matter about the chemistry. Chemistry is not important, that you can be in someone's company for a certain amount of time and sparks are going to fly and lights are going to go off and everything's going to work out. So I would just like to hear your perspective on that.
I have a few thoughts. One is sometimes fireworks shows happen really fast and they end as fast as they started. And often we have those chemistry situations. And sometimes fireworks shows are like the fireworks shows at Disneyland. They happen every single night. And Disneyland chooses to have them happen every single night. So I think it's a choice. And I think that we create the situation. And I had to learn this a really interesting way. I love passion. I am unwilling to not have passion in my relationship. So that's physical attraction, emotional attraction, intellectual attraction. And when I started going to therapy to actually help me work on my relationship to relationships, because I didn't want to keep making similar mistakes that I had made in my past. I shared this with my therapist. I said, well, I get these powerful connections with someone and then they fizzle out. And I said, maybe, some people say passion isn't that important. This deep, like electrifying connection isn't so important. And my therapist said, if it's important to you, it's important. For some people, traveling is important. For some people, reading together at night is important. For some people, dogs are important, right? For some people, it's skiing or, deep conversations. For some people, it's protesting and social justice. For me, a lot of those things are also true, but passion's really important. I think that passion and desire and joy are what make life worth living. So I'm unwilling to have a relationship that lacks passion. So does it mean that they have to look a perfect certain way? No, because I think that's a limited construct. Part of the reason we had judges is because they want me to have passion, but they're like, hey, Alex has a narrative, and I think a lot of us do this. Oh, I should be with a person that looks like this. Or I should be with a person that thinks like this or does this kind of job. And what they're really looking for is, can we find someone who maybe is a great match for him, but maybe just doesn't fit the story, the narrative that's been in his head since childhood. So is passion important? Is that fire important? Is energy? I think it's up to you. I would not live without it. I'd rather be single for the rest of my life than have a relationship that lacks that. And I'd also rather have a million short relationships that have it than one long one that doesn't. I think that we also are in this belief that one long relationship means success. But I kind of equate this to, most of us love summer. It'd be weird if you lived in a city like New York or Chicago and summer ended and you kept hanging on to summer. Like summer's ending. If you keep hanging on to summer, you're going to suffer. You're going to get cold. You're going to get frostbite. Things change. Things end. And I think it would serve us as humans to look at things as endings not being bad, but simply turning a new page, a new season, a new chapter. And that doesn't mean we can't have a 50-year or a 60-year relationship. But that might not be the path for all of us every single time. A full, powerful relationship could be 2 years. It could be 6 months. A person could change your life in a week.
I like what you're saying, because I'm someone who's also all about passion. And it's like, if there's no passion, I don't want it. But yet there are a number of other people who it's just like, oh, she's a good friend. He's a good friend. We like to do things together. It's like, okay, that's great for you, but that's not going to work for me. There's got to be that fire and that chemistry and that passion. And to your point, maybe it's not there for that long, and then goodbye, next,
Yeah. Well, if you think about it like anything, right? I think quality of life and my joy is the most important thing. So if you told me, look, if I doubled the amount of hours I worked, I probably could triple the amount of money I make. But then I wouldn't get to take walks on the beach with my dog daily and get these workouts in that make me feel really good and hang out with friends and read a lot of books. And to me, the money isn't worth the right? It's not I'm not saying it has to be an either or, but I found a life that I enjoy, right? I make good money and my clients make good money, but it's like, what matters to you? And I think that's an individual question. that I think, unfortunately, a lot of us haven't stopped to answer. Like, why do you want to be successful? What's all this money for? What are the accolades for? What are you writing another book for? Why are you trying to get a promotion? Right? We're doing all these things like on autopilot. This is the aspect of coaching that I love, is I get to say to someone when they say, hey, I want to go from, my 7-figure business to 8 figures. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Why? What's it for? What's 8 figures for? What are you going to do with that money? Or what's it going to give you? Or what are you hoping it's going to give you? They might say, well, if I had it, I would be happy. And I was like, well, how come we can't get you happy? And then if you get the money, it's a bonus. And if you don't get the money, you're still happy. It's a win-win. Versus maybe you get the 8 figures and you're still not happy. And then it's like, well, now what? I think we see that a lot in our society, right? Like, get the accolades, check the boxes, win, win, win. Because if I win, I'll be living some sort of life. And then they do that and they're still like, wait, I'm not satisfied, I'm unfulfilled, and I feel like I'm burning out. And I don't want to live like that.
I'm with you. Great points. I go on to Clubhouse to the Breakfast of Champions app. Have you been on there?
I have not.
So there are people who are very successful and famous, and they all give some gems that they drop. And anyway, without mentioning any names, as a segue to what you just said, a couple of days ago, someone popped into the room during a time that this person probably wouldn't have been there because they were talking about social media, and this person's not a social media person. So long story short, the person mentioned that they've already earned, $1.5 billion through online sales, and they're doing real estate. And so kept elaborating that about social media, and basically what this person said was that the only time this person interacts with other people, if there's an opportunity to do business and make money, that this person's not interested in the connection or the friendship. It's all about the partnership. And I thought, and this person's very successful, right? And I thought, wow, that's a different way of looking at it, but I don't want that. But I'll never have that person's money either. So what are your thoughts about that? That it's just living in a world where it's just about 7 figures, or it's just about 8 figures, or 20 books, or whatever the case is.
I mean, it's capitalism in a nutshell, right? It's I don't want to say that it's good or bad, because I don't think that things are good or bad. Right? Money isn't good or bad. It's if you give me 7 figures and I go feed people with it, that's great, right?
Yes.
And if you give me 7 figures and I use it to build a factory to exploit workers, it's bad, right? So it's what I do with things and who I'm being about it more so than what the things are. I mean, you just described transactional relationships. And I think transactional relationships are super unfulfilling and surface level. Now, I don't know who this person is. I don't know why they want all this money. Like, what's the money for? But that's what I would be curious about. Like, what's all this money for? And how come
the person said to leave a legacy for their family?
Do they have a relationship with their family? Because what you just shared makes me think that they don't, that they probably don't spend any time with their family, that they're out, that they're going to leave money, but no memories or no connection or no love. I'll share a story with you that I think is he's one of my favorite clients, and I can't obviously say who he is, but he's a very, very successful man. And when I met him originally, he said to me straight up, I make millions of dollars a year. What are you going to tell me? And he said this to me and I laughed and I said, that's great. So how come we're on the phone? And, we got to like, hey, his marriage wasn't working the way he wanted it to. He wasn't having the relationships with his kids. All his interactions with other human beings were all about money, and everything was about money. And I said, so why are we here? And I said, because I don't need to show you how to make money. You know how to do that. So what do you need me for? And he basically said, well, all these things are these problems. And I went, got it. So there's some stuff that you want to be different, and money's not having it be different. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, see, and that's where I can be really helpful, because I might not make millions of dollars a year, but my life works. And the areas of my life that aren't like exactly the way I want them, they're on their way. I'm getting out of my own way to allow them to, because I'm not willing to be handcuffed by a different area. And so he told me this story. I asked him why money mattered so much. And he told me a story about how when he was young, he got kicked out of the house as a teenager. He got abandoned by his mom. He got kicked out of the house by his grandparents or his grandparent. and he was standing on a street corner with basically 2 bags of clothes, and he swore to himself at like 16 years old that he would never be in that position again, that he would never, not have money and not have resources. And that from then on, he became a hustler. And he, like so many, this story could be so many people, right? They had an experience. They were like, money will change things. Success will change something. And now he's an adult. He's got a family. He's so successful. He's an incredible human. He's a great leader in his company. But what he really wants is connection and love and to impact people. Well, the money isn't doing that. It's actually causing the opposite. And what I reflected to him was, if he doesn't change the way he's operating and change the way he's thinking, well, what he's going to see in the future is him standing out in front of a mansion with 2 bags full of money and everybody gone all over again. And it was right. Yeah. Your reaction. Like, he was visceral, and it was, what I love about this guy is he's so masculine and so powerful and so successful, and he doesn't need to do this work. He's choosing to do this work because he loves his wife, he loves his family, he loves the company he works for, and he wants to make a difference in all of those areas. And he really gets that, like, if he doesn't shift something, that's not possible.
What a great story. So many gems to take away from that. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I could stay here and talk to you all day. We've got about 8 minutes left, and there's 2 things I'd really like to get to. I'd like to talk about your work in the corporate world, because I think corporations now, with the pandemic, we need coaches that are going to come into these organizations and help people with the mind shift and reacclimating and developing a culture of recognition. So please do share. I can see on your website a number of companies, LinkedIn, Godiva, Shutterfly, McCann. Tell us a little bit about the work that you've done and that you can do to help other organizations.
I've been fortunate enough to do, like, even those companies you mentioned, I didn't necessarily work with the companies. I worked with individuals at the companies that were in leadership positions. And those people, what was great about them is they took that on themselves. They were like, hey, I want to be a better leader. I want to have a better life. So I'm hiring you to support me in my business, in my relationships, in my well-being, all these different areas. And most of my clients own companies. Some of them own companies that do 6 figures. Some of them own companies that do 7 and 8 figures. And ultimately, the reason what I usually do with them is we look at, like, what do they want, not just for themselves, but what do they want for the company? What do they think is in the way? So I have clients that they're like, hey, my temperament's in the way. My leadership style's in the way. The fact is, I don't trust people, so I can't grow my company because I can't allow other people to take the lead. And I think whether we look at this as a smaller companies or bigger corporations, we're all human, so we're all dealing with similar things. Often when I go in and work with a company, I look at things like, hey, is the company what they say they are, right? So we go into companies often, they have their mission and values written on the wall. Is that just like wallpaper, or is the company that? Does it just, the way it's acting, behaving, not only with its employees and customers, but in the world, represent what it says its mission and values are? Because if it doesn't, it either needs to shift who it's being, or it needs to change its mission and values. And how, like, and so here's the thing about that. If you say you're a company that doesn't care about people, that you just care about profits, that's okay. That's your choice. And when people don't want to work for you, it's not bad or good. It's simply a natural consequence of why would you want to work for a company that doesn't care about people. And if you're a company that cuts corners and is like, hey, we're just trying to save a buck, well, you're going to have a consequence to that. Maybe people won't buy your products, or maybe your employees won't want to work for you because you shortchange them, so they leave to go for companies that pay them what they're worth. Whatever the thing is the way the company is being run in alignment with the vision of what they want to be in the world, or what they want to create in the world? And then do the employees match that? So are they showing up in alignment with the vision of the company? And so often the work I do when I am in with a company is top down. So starting with the leaders of the company, hey, like, are you guys all on the same page? Is the dynamic of the company what they say they are on the same page with those running the company? do the people a notch lower see it also the same way? These are all areas where we are looking for where the gaps are. So where are the blind spots, where are the gaps? And I don't relate to anyone as like a problem, because anyone can change and transform. It's about, do people want to? So sometimes when you come into a company and you do what I do, they don't get to hear what they want to hear. They hear what I'm like a mirror, right? I don't come in and say, hey, you should change your product line or fire this employee. I simply come and reflect, right? If you get dressed in the morning with the lights off and put on all your makeup and all your clothes, but it's pitch black, when you turn on the lights, the mirror is not going to have an opinion about how you look. It's simply going to show you that your makeup's not in the right place, that your clothes don't match. So I'm going to come in and I'm not going to say, hey, I think you should sell other things or fire these people or reorganize your company. I'm simply going to say, hey, you say you do this, but you actually do this. You say that this is what you're all about, but this is what your employees think you're about. Your teams claim to be up to this, but this is what they're actually up to. And if people are really wanting to transform and grow, what we do is try to get those things in alignment and have people show up authentically and get the best strengths out of the best people. And if somebody's not good at something, well, we don't need them to do that job. We can have somebody else do that job, instead of just like throwing people in putting people in boxes, which limit who they are. We can recreate almost like this dating experiment. Hey, if it's not working, let's recreate the model. Let's design it different. Let's make up a new way. Let's give people new positions. Let's create new positions. Let's create new ideas so we can get the result that we want. Did I kind of hit on what you're looking for?
Yes, well said. I love that mirror analogy. A good analogy can go so far, right? I just love that. Okay, so how I'd love to end the show is if you would read to us from one of your books.
Sure. Thanks for letting me do this. When you asked, when I was waiting to do this, and when you said, I went, God, it's so funny how far we've come. When I was a little kid and I had to read in class, it was like the most terrifying moment of my life. And now being able to read from my book is one of the coolest experiences. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
So this is just a segment about like a piece on your North Star, which I think is like what you're really committed to in life, where you're headed. There was never a kid who didn't have a dream. There was never a kid who didn't dream what it would be like to do something. There was never a kid who didn't enjoy or love doing something. And there never was a kid who wasn't creative or didn't have an imagination. We simply forgot we are those kids. We forgot, hid, ignored these dreams, passions, and love. We were convinced they weren't plausible by our culture, our family, our friends, our schools, our churches, our government, and everyone else. We were told we weren't good enough, that it's too hard, that it takes money or time, or that you have to know someone. We were told that we can only do it if we are white or black or skinny or fat. We were told blah, 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 blah. We all had dreams. We all had passions. We all had imaginations and creative genius inside of us. If you're one of those people that believe they can't, or they don't know how, or they don't have a passion or a purpose, commit to breaking that sad bleep story. Commit to discovering your passion, to reawakening your creativity, to generating a spark inside of you that creates purpose in your life.
Very nice. Thank you. Can you show us the book cover?
Yeah. There's one behind me, but I think it's a little too far away.
Let me spotlight you again. Fictional authenticity. Release your past, start living your real life. Where can we find this book?
Amazon. Everything's on Amazon, right? Is there?
Yeah.
Some
people, believe it or not, they don't put their book on Amazon. It's only on their website for some reason.
Oh, no, you can probably buy me on Amazon. They sell everything.
Alex, it's time to wrap up as we have a show right after this, but I'd love to ask a couple of questions as we go. So for people out there who are thinking, this experiment sounds really cool. One, how do I get involved? Is it too late? I'm not saying me, I'm saying people. Is it too late to be considered? Two, what if a person would like to have you facilitate a model for them and their friends?
Yeah.
What does that look like? And then 3, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So it is too late for people to sign up. Unfortunately or fortunately, we had an incredible amount of people sign up and we had to cut it off, especially with the trip approaching. So it is too late. But if you do want to know what's going on, if you think this sounds fun, if you're just curious, you can go to my Facebook. You can find me, Alex Terrnova, or The Dream Mason on Facebook. You can also, Instagram is actually where I like to spend the most time and share the most updates. So Inspirational Alex on Instagram, it's on the bottom of the ticker also. That would be the best places. You can also go to the website, click on the Tulum tab. There's a place you can sign up and you can find out more information because we're going to do more of this. Your second question, if people want to do this, I would say go to the website or Instagram and DM me, because that actually is what we're talking about next. This has been so amazing for me and the people involved that we're looking at like, hey, how do we actually create some things like this for other people? And I think we're going to do a beta coming up pretty soon. So yeah, just reach out to me and share what you want, because I'm about creating all sorts of things. It doesn't have to be just like this. And your third question was, if people want
how do people get in touch with you? Because people are on the radio, so they can't see the banner.
Yeah, same thing. So if they're an Instagram person, Inspirational Alex. And if you're not, thedreammason.com, and you can see like everything I'm up to, the podcasts, the books. There's there's links to like, email me and connect with me there.
And Alex, as we close out the show, you are headed over to Clubhouse for a room that you're starting today. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So this is the first room and this is going to be a regular room every Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's called The Frequency Shifters. About 6 months ago, me and a friend, Corinne Summers, released a podcast called The Frequency Shifter Show. It's all about all the unseen things in the universe. So energy, crystals, how the pyramids were built, aliens. There's all sorts of things, but basically all these things. And Corinne is more of an expert in things like Ayurvedic medicine and energy work. And I'm kind of I'm interested in these things, but I'm not your expert. So I kind of bring it down so nobody feels dumb. We can all learn and get the gist, and experts can also hear and keep up. And we bring on these amazing people from Gaia TV and different places to teach us. The Clubhouse room is an extension of this. So we're going to have the experts on. We're going to be able to take questions from people. We're going to be able to bring on other guests and kind of facilitate a community so it expands beyond the podcast. So it's in 10 minutes on Clubhouse, the Frequency Shifters.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alex. You've been a phenomenal guest. I'm so excited for everything that you're doing. And please do come back and tell us how the experiment turns out.
I would love to. Hopefully I come back with somebody, right? I'll have like a person who, we get to both share how it went.
Fantastic. That's even better. So I wish you all the best. Have a great room on Clubhouse, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, isn't he wonderful? I love everything that he's doing, his passion, his commitment. So please do follow him on social media and do go over to Clubhouse and join him right in 10 minutes. I've got another show coming up as well, and it's the Talking Heads. This is not an interview platform. It's a presentation platform where coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors from around the world come and present 15-minute lessons to help make us better personally and or professionally. I will leave you with one other bit of information. I started this yesterday. Every day after I broadcast, which is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I finish around 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is 11 p.m. British Summer Time. And I've started something that I really am excited about. I am the listening mentor. So you might not know this about me, but in addition to being a TV and radio show host, broadcaster, director, and producer, I am also a certified life and career coach, a certified meditation coach, and a certified yoga instructor. And I resigned from my corporate career last year during the pandemic and started this broadcasting platform. And I have been listening to people for 30 plus years. And along the way, I've picked up a lot of really good tips to help people have better relationships. So for 8 minutes, minutes, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be dropping some gems about listening. Yesterday, I talked about the listening styles that men prefer, and today I'll be talking about the listening styles that women prefer. I will then be uploading it to Instagram since we don't stream there because they won't let us. But that's all exciting news, and I hope that you'll join me and that you will take something of value away from it. Thank you again to our wonderful guest, Alex Terrnova. Please do stay tuned. We will be right back in a few minutes for the Talking Heads show. Thank you, and take